You opened the message 3 hours ago. You read it. You even started typing a response. But then you stopped, closed the app, and told yourself you'd reply later. Now it's been hours, maybe even a full day, and the notification sits there like a small, nagging weight on your chest. You know they can see you are active. You know they're probably wondering why you haven't responded. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to finally hit send. If you've done this, you've probably been called flaky, rude, a bad friend. You've maybe even wondered if there's something wrong with you. Why can't you just type a few words and be done with it? But I'm here to tell you that your inability to respond isn't a character flaw. It's not laziness, and it's not that you don't care. It's a psychological phenomenon that lives at the intersection of anxiety, executive function, and what researchers call social cognitive load. Today we're going to look at the neuroscience behind why a simple text message can feel like an insurmountable task. To understand this, we have to look at what's actually happening in your brain when you see a message. Most people think responding to a text is simple. You read it, you type back, you move on. But for you, it's not that straightforward. Your brain treats every message as a complex social interaction that requires deep processing. Neuroscientists call this high social cognitive load. While other people are engaging in what psychologists call shallow processing, just reacting to the surface content, your brain is running a multi-layered simulation. When you see that message, your prefrontal cortex, the planning center of your brain, immediately starts generating scenarios. You're not just thinking about what to say, you're predicting how they'll interpret your tone. You're analyzing whether your response will seem too eager or too cold. You're calculating the optimal time to reply so you don't appear desperate or disinterested. Your brain is trying to solve a social equation with dozens of variables, and every time you start typing, a new variable appears. This is called perspective taking, and it's actually a sophisticated cognitive skill. Your brain is using something called theory of mind, the ability to simulate another person's mental state. But here's where it gets exhausting. You're not just simulating their current state. You're simulating their future state, their potential reactions, and even how those reactions might change the relationship. That 3-word text you're trying to send has become a chess game with infinite moves. But there's another layer to this. For many people, the delay isn't just about crafting the perfect response. It's about emotional capacity. When you see a message, especially from certain people, your nervous system doesn't just register information, it registers a demand. Psychologists call this social debt. Your brain treats every unanswered message as an incomplete transaction, a task that's draining your cognitive resources even when you're not actively thinking about it. This is where your amygdala, your brain's threat detection system, gets involved. If you have any history of rejection sensitivity, criticism, or social anxiety, your amygdala has learned to treat social interactions as potential threats. When you see a message, especially one that requires emotional labor, like someone venting about their problems or asking for advice, your amygdala flags it as something that could go wrong. What if you say the wrong thing? What if they misunderstand you? What if your response damages the relationship? Your brain isn't being irrational, it's trying to protect you from social pain, which, according to fMRI studies, activates the same neural regions as physical pain. So you avoid. You tell yourself you'll respond when you have more energy, when you can think more clearly, when you're in a better mood. But avoidance has a cost. Every hour you don't respond, the anxiety compounds. The message becomes heavier. What started as a simple, "Hey, how are you?" has now become a situation. Now you need to apologize for the delay. Now you need to explain yourself. Now the response requires even more cognitive energy than it did 3 hours ago. You've entered what psychologists call an avoidance anxiety loop, where the thing you're avoiding becomes more threatening the longer you avoid it. And here's the part that most people don't talk about. For some of you, this isn't just social anxiety, it's executive dysfunction. Your brain's task initiation system is stuck. People with ADHD, autism, or high sensitivity often experience what's called response paralysis. It's not that you don't want to reply, it's that your brain can't generate the activation energy required to start the task. The message sits in your mental queue, but the play button won't press. This isn't about motivation or effort. This is about the neurological scaffolding required to move from intention to action. And for some brains, that scaffolding is fragile. There's also the reality of masking. If you're someone who has spent your life carefully managing how you're perceived, making sure you seem friendly enough, competent enough, not too weird or too much, then every message becomes a performance. You're not just replying, you're maintaining a character, and that character requires energy. When you're depleted, when your social battery is drained, the idea of putting on that mask one more time feels impossible. So you wait until you have the energy to perform, which sometimes means waiting for hours or days. But here's what I need you to understand. The fact that you overthink your responses doesn't mean you're doing social interaction wrong. It means your brain is wired for depth. While others can send quick, surface-level replies, you're processing layers of meaning, tone, and relational dynamics. That's not a bug. That's high-resolution social processing. The problem isn't your brain. It's that the speed of modern communication was designed for shallow processors, not deep ones. So how do you use this understanding? Here are 3 strategies. First, the 5-minute window. The next time you see a message and feel that familiar wave of dread, set a timer for 5 minutes. You're not committing to sending a perfect response. You're committing to typing something, anything, within 5 minutes. It can be incomplete. It can be imperfect. The goal is to break the paralysis before the avoidance anxiety loop kicks in. Most of the time, once you start typing, the cognitive inertia breaks and the response becomes easier. You're not fighting your anxiety. You're outsmarting your executive function. Second, the response template. For people you message regularly, create mental templates, not robotic scripts, but general frameworks. "Sorry for the delay, I've been overwhelmed," is a perfectly acceptable opener that buys you goodwill without requiring a detailed explanation. "Let me get back to you on that when I have more time to think it through," is honest and sets a boundary. You don't owe everyone an immediate, fully formed response. You're allowed to acknowledge the delay without shame and respond when you're resourced. Third, the relationship audit. Not all messages deserve the same cognitive load. Some people in your life understand your communication style. They know you're not ignoring them, you're just processing. Those are your safe people, and you can be honest with them. "I saw your message and I want to respond thoughtfully, so I need a bit of time." But some people create disproportionate anxiety. Every message from them feels like a test. If someone in your life consistently makes you feel like your response time or phrasing is under scrutiny, that's data. That relationship might need boundaries, or it might need to be reconsidered entirely. Your response time isn't a measure of how much you care. It's a measure of your available cognitive and emotional resources in that moment. The people who matter will understand that. The ones who don't were never safe to begin with. The next time you see a message and feel that familiar dread, remember, you're not broken. You're not rude. You're a person with a highly sensitive social processing system trying to navigate a world that treats depth like a deficiency. Your thoughtfulness is a gift, even when it feels like a burden.